a bit behind. Oof, way behind actually. Got to get going here. Don't really have time for this video, but I'm going to do it anyway. They always show up eventually, right? Some kind of crap. I mean, Holiday apparently has made some new video declaring victory once again. Alright, so here's the story, right? So there's this theory that life is this replicating molecule, that it basically creates a bunch of redundancies, you know, copies. It's what the DNA molecule does. And it kills most of them, you know, to migrate this idea of success into one or two individuals out of maybe millions. And say, okay, yeah, you replicate again, just to keep trying to make something that survives better and better. And so, yeah, we're sitting there part of that, in the sense that after billions of years of doing that, you end up with something kind of funky, in terms of how complex it can get, in terms of having all kinds of radar and super weapons and all kinds of bullshit, right? So we're like the modern battleship or something. And yeah, we have all kinds of sonar and donar and bonar, right? And just to play this stupid game where, you know, we kill a whole bunch of stuff to make one thing live. So we, like, you could almost look at it like how a battleship is made, right? I mean, you're talking about all this ore that has to be dug out of the ground, all these animals have to be killed, blah, 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 blah. Toxic elements left on the surface, all kinds of bullshit that happens to make one of these things. And that this whole thing that we're doing is just a contrivance. It has nothing to do with anything like this is purposeful. We just create need machines that go out into the world and satisfy some percentage of their need at catastrophic counter cost of, you know, all kinds of shit happens. So I could just say one thing. I could just take one tiny element of all the horror out there right now. So let's just count all the animals not quite road-killed today. You know, so most of the animals that have interactions with cars every day, most of them aren't killed instantly. They wander off and die from their injuries. So let's just consider that for one day and put a number on it. 500 million. Those 500 million little suffering beasties. You think we did something today worth that? That's all. Put it on the scale. You know, something you accomplished personally to take care of your portion of that? You did something? I don't think you did. So I'm just saying, you know, you could just add this up, and for every day of your life, you're costing the biosphere hundreds of thousands of difficult and horrible deconstructions, death. So, and the theory is that, yes, this is stupid. That smart things with brains should be able to say, this is way too expensive. If we can't do it better than this, then we can't do it at all. It's not a good enough game this way. If we can't make it a better game or good enough game, we have no excuse to play it, because we're smart enough to say, that's stupid. Now, this guy's counter theory, Matthew Schuette, is that we're not allowed to say this even. You're not allowed to believe it. And somehow he has some counter argument. No, he doesn't have that in this video. So he's just going to talk about how it's dangerous because we have this idea, and we think the idea is correct. So, and it's not like we're just as dangerous as, say, a Christian whose Bible says commit genocide, you know, murder, kill the people, the non-believers. That's somehow not dangerous, even though they've proven their ability to do it, their willingness to do it. They have annihilated civilizations off the face of the earth. So, and if there's a Jew who hates Muslims and says that, yeah, if I could press a button and just wipe out all the Muslims, they would, somehow they don't belong in prison. I mean, it's just grotesque hypocrisy, right? So that's all this asshole is. It's just a little hypocrite. And that's most human beings are hypocrites. They can't defend anything with an argument. They can just practice some sort of grotesque and obnoxious hypocrisy. So anyway, just, you know, later in this video, this guy's going to obnoxiously preach about the proprieties of certain types of arguments, and he does exactly what he claims is a foul. You know, later. I mean, the hypocrisy is just so overt. So he says, let's just count hypocrisies. The ideology known as Efilism, popularized by ill-educated, like based on what evidence, again, an intellectually challenged hermit, again, so what does that have to do? You're saying I'm intellectually challenged. What evidence do you have of that? Do you really want to compare IQ tests? Do you really want to do that, asshole? Hermit, is that relevant somehow? No, I don't think it is. Yeah. Because your girlfriend is named Bruce, should I bring that up? Is that relevant somehow? Who chooses to refer to himself as inmendham. Whatever, I don't refer to myself, but this is, you know, just, what is this? Is this useless at all? Useful? No. Is not taken terribly seriously outside of one shady and bug-infested corner of YouTube. So again, somehow these are important things. Shady and bug-infested. Isn't life bug-infested? I mean, planet Earth is bug-infested, isn't it? So if your argument is bug-infested is not good, then I guess you should be all for blowing the Earth up, because it's got to be the most bug-infested thing we could possibly talk about, right? I mean, if there's one thing, one place that you could actually say is bug-infested, Earth would be bug-infested, right? I mean, it is like, it should be like the poster child for bug-infested in the dictionary, a picture of Earth, right? So if bug-infested is a bad thing, then I guess we should get rid of that goddamn Earth, right? Yeah, show a little consistency, douchebag. Oh no, they don't have any of that. That would require something like integrity. Alright. The popularized by an ill-educated. Okay, this is the same shit still. There we go. This is the next one. You know, he has a computer reading it. He's such a courageous warrior in defense of life being, you know, threatened by this evil philosophy. That he has to have a computer read his video. Anyway, Efilism, if you're unfamiliar with the term, can be summed up as follows. Okay, this is your summation. Now let's see how honest it is. Life is full of unfair and unnecessary suffering. Well, let's just, I don't even deal with the unfair part. Let's just deal with this unnecessary word. Unnecessary suffering. Gee, that's not too good, is it? And it's full of it. Well, if that's true, that's a problem, isn't it? So the best thing to do is to bring about the permanent extinction of all life. Well, the idea would be is you want to stop the unnecessary suffering. The suffering's happening because it's alive. Ah, yes, that would be seems the most direct solution. Now, you have a counter theory of how to fix the unnecessary suffering? Let's hear it. Oh, that's right, you're not going to do that. Because there is no realistic counter theory. That's right, is there? Except for assholes justifying themselves and saying, I'm worth it. Let's all just say we're worth it, even though we're just kind of putsy-looking twats. Yeah, you're a twat. Girly boy.
As follows.
Ooh, I don't want to do that. So on to the next piece of drivel. Although Efilis seemed to be exclusively, or almost exclusively, atheist, well, that seems reasonable based on the previous theory that Efilis don't say a brilliant God, knowing exactly what he was doing, decided to create life on Earth and put many, many assholes right next to vaginas. Because he was a very smart God. He thought, oh yes, it'd be really cool to have your nose in an asshole while you're... Yes, that would be really cool. It is uncontroversial to say that the majority of atheists do not subscribe to this ideology. It would also be uncontroversial to say the majority of atheists are dumb motherfucking bricks. Yeah, they have absolutely no interest in doing much besides playing a video game and trying to figure out where the white women is. Yeah. The following view is not uncommon in the wider atheist and rational skeptic community. The following view is not uncommon. Okay, I don't know what that is. Rational skeptic community. Yeah, these rational skeptics. Skeptical of what? Everything. Oh, including reality. Yeah, so you mean another nihilist asswipe. Beyond the bubble in which inmendham and those influenced by him fantasize about destroying all life in the universe. Well, they're actually arguing, okay, that there's no alternative good plan. And if you can come up with one, we're listening, but we're not hearing that. We're just hearing this kind of nonsense from you. So what's your idea, smart man? Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't have an idea. Not even the simplest clue. Right, so let's move on. Referring to the exertions of the apocalypse. Exertions? I don't know what that means. Apologist of Efilism. I don't even know what good this is. Thromomo of rational skeptic writes simply. Who the fuck cares? Rational skepticism. Again, this whole bullshit. What does that term even mean? Is that some sort of skeptic of what? Oh, you mean fables? Oh, you mean like skeptic of like the Borg when it shows up and says, "Look, life is good, life is good, life is good. Trust me, life is good. I'll put it in a product. We can copyright the name and make products. Life is good. Trust me, trust me." Whatever. All right. So somebody wrote something. The following view is not uncommon among a wider age of rational skeptic community. People fantasize about destroying life in the universe. Okay, so following view. I don't know what. Referring to. Okay, so we already did that. Okay, oh, he simply writes. I've been arguing with some extreme anti-nihilist and so-called Efilists online recently, all of whom seem to think life itself is bad, to be avoided, prevented, negated. Yes, and we give reasons, and the reasons are it's a DNA molecule replicating under a no real rules circumstance. It's playing a fucking game to the death where there's no rules, fucker. Don't you understand how that's going to go nowhere good? Assholes. Have you heard of the red button thought experiment? Yes, which has nothing to do with the fundamental philosophy. It's just an expression of what would you do if you had the absolute power? And under the circumstances of these particular issues, extreme optimism bias and all the other crap you have to overcome, how confident are you? That's all it's really a test of. How confident are you? There's many Jews who are really confident the world would be better off without the Arab scum. There's many Arabs who think the world would be better off without the Jewish scum. And they would act on that understanding that I'm really confident we don't need those motherfucking cunts. The fact that I'm really confident the universe doesn't need you, okay, it has absolutely no use for you. You solve no problem in the universe. You do nothing but eat and shit, you motherfucking cunt. Alright? And you're the one running fantasies in your head about what you're doing here. You don't understand what bugs are. You don't know what a bug-infested world is. Idiot. You can't even properly identify yourselves. Maybe for them, life is bad. It doesn't suit them. Yeah, now you creating victims, you harming unnecessarily organisms to play your silly bullshit baseball games. Yes, that's bullshit, okay? You're the rapist, asshole. I'm making the direct accusation. You're harming, you're causing much more negative sensation to be arising in sentient organisms than anything you're feeling is worth. Everything you feel is not worth what you're costing other sensitive creatures. You're creating victims who you didn't get consent from them. You're just grinding them up literally and consuming them. You're evil bastards, quite obviously, and you have no defense of that except I'm allowed to. I have a bigger gun. That's it. They have every advantage in life, relative comfort. Again, all this is so relevant, isn't it? Oh, what a great argument. Fuck you. I'll be back. Ah, back. Anyway, they have every advantage in life, relatively custom Western lifestyles, and they spend their time fantasizing on bringing about global extinctions. Well, again, we spend our time, most of our time, not fantasizing about exactly the opposite, imagining the horror that takes place on planet Earth and the horror that's been taking place on it for 500 million years of sentient organisms being gobbled up and gobbled up and gobbled up and shat and gobbled and shat and gobbled and shat over and over and over again for trillions of days. That's what I would argue most are blighted by, is the image of what has taken place on this planet. You think it's a big joke. You think it's a, you know, just like the Black Death and cholera and all that kind of stuff. Those things all make you laugh. Those are all funny, ha-ha subjects for you because you're a sadistic lunatic, right? So that's what I can just say. You're all sadistic lunatics. But I mean, it's just, you know, this is an honest paraphrase. So this is what you really think we're doing. Idiot. They can't sincerely wait for someone to pass the bitter tasting Kool-Aid around. Well, again, you say it's bitter tasting. It's Kool-Aid, idiot. But, you know, you have a counter theory on what is the rational thing to do in the face of the facts that we exist in on planet Earth. The facts of this construction and this Borg that you're part of. And your answer to the Borg is what? Drink some more Borg egg, huh? Go watch a baseball game? You're gonna make it all go away? Yeah, right. Brilliant. Anyway.
Teenager.
Yeah. Can't do that. So, great counter argument. For the most part, I think to whatever, for Momo, is being charitable to refer to the offerings of Efilism as arguments at all. Yeah, well, where's your argument in this video? Have you made an argument? You're showing like space and stuff. Do you have like some sort of space argument? Do you believe in the internal wanky God or something? What is exactly your theory of what's taken place on planet Earth? Besides pretty much a gladiator war. It's a bug planet. You want to call yourself something better than that? Well, you're going to have to explain how you're doing better. How the human race has done better. You're not going to do any of that. So what's your defense again? It's the way it is. DNA molecule knows what it's doing. Is that your argument? Yeah. Brilliant. And although I tend to agree with his verdict on the quality of these offerings, well, you're not going to demonstrate with any kind of counter-offering, as far as it applies to the majority of inmendham sycophantic cultists, and of course their Jim Jones substitute, whatever that means. Again, Jim Jones, do you know exactly what Jim Jones, who he was, and what he did for people on planet Earth? What he spent all of his life doing? And why everything unraveled? Do you know any of the facts of that story at all? No, you don't. I have taken some interest in both them and their propaganda. Well, again, you seem to be the king of the propaganda here, since you haven't made one accurate statement yet, right? I mean, this is all just useless crap. You drool. You haven't made an argument of any kind. You've just associated us with the bad guys, right? Well, I can associate you with the Borg just as easily, can't I? And I'll actually defend it with arguments of how, yes, you're just like the Borg, okay? I mean, you're just defending the molecule for no rational reason, no defense put up whatsoever. You just say things like, it's the way it is. Yeah, well, that's exactly what the Borgites are trained to say, isn't it? Based on how these people spend their time fantasizing about mass murder, see the red button thought experiment, and also, so again, you keep talking about it like, mass murder in what context, right? So again, just pretend there's no such thing as a crime. So anyone who defends their people, so to speak, their kind, from victimization is a mass murderer. So if a bunch of slaves murdered the owner, that then they would be mass murderers. If they were going out for all the rich white owners, that would make them mass murderers. Wouldn't make them revolutionaries or some other kind of word, right? It would make them mass murderers. And that's, in your opinion, fair rhetoric. And also based on their tactics of denouncing, slandering, denouncing, I'm Jim Jones, bug infested, slandering, well, telling us what we're doing when we're not doing that thing, primarily. Fantasizing about, contemplating, you could use the word contemplating the horrible price paid by innocent sentient life for our silly adventurism. Could say that would be more accurate. And attempting to humiliate dissenting voices. Well, I think this is an attempt to humiliate, isn't it? All this trash talking about my appearance or how I live when you don't show us what your job is, fucker. Where are you living? In mommy's basement? I have for a time regarded them as morbid cult-like association. Well, whatever your regard is. Who cares? You're not making an argument of any kind. And what's your credentials again? What have you done in your life at all of merit? Something that's supposed to make us be impressed with what your opinion is? When has your opinion ever been unique or valuable or constructive in any way? Oh, that's right, never. Lately, I've also begun to wonder about the extent to which the ideology, given what it preaches, and given the kinds of individual it attracts, could be dangerous. Well, have you made the same contemplation about Judaism, Mohammedanism, Islam? Have you made the same contemplations? Even veganism itself? How this is dangerous? Have you done that? Could be a threat to your way of life? Any contemplations there? Wonderings? Take the following exchange. It begins with a YouTube user, Hothaday, ridiculing fantasies of Efilism as follows. Well, I'm not going to play this just because it's stupid. It's a video I don't remember even seeing of Hothaday's. So anyways, making an analogy, doomsday, red button. And all of a sudden, after you red button Earth, all of a sudden aliens show up. And it's his presumption that you just start shooting. You don't ask them, hey, are you smarter than us and do you have answers? No, you just kill them. Yeah. Which, is just stupid, right? There's nothing in the philosophy that says you don't have a conversation with people capable of having a conversation. So go ahead. Do they have a counter-argument, or is there a counter-argument, we like to watch American Idol too? So if they don't have any valuable contribution to make to the conversation, they still have their democratic vote, you could argue, and so let them apply it. But again, so he's basing it on the conjecture that there's extraterrestrial life in the universe. Is there any evidence of that? No. Any reason to believe in that? No. And this asshole is going to talk about people having fantasies. I think that's Hothday's fantasy. It doesn't have anything to do with any kind of reality. So there's Hotday doing his silly thing. And then what does he do? He posts a comment by this stupid nihilist self-eliminator guy. I agree with you about inmendham, but to answer the thought experiment, yes, I would go on an intergalactic killing spree. So again, this is a guy I reject as being an ethicist or an antinatalist in any kind of rational way, because he's not a rational one, he's an emotional one. And so you get an argument from somebody who really has nothing to do with me, and you're using this argument to attack my philosophy. Does that make any sense? This guy doesn't call himself an ethicist anyway. He calls himself an antinatalist. I thought this was the dangers of Efilism. So now you're arguing with somebody who has nothing to do with anything I'm advocating for, which is a rational philosophy, not an emotional philosophy. But sure, go ahead. Straw man. I think that's what they call a straw man, asshole. Do you understand that concept? So I'm not going to bother. Who cares about this mush? Well, anyway, let's just go into here. Sure, you can. You'll exterminate us all for your own good, owing to what a nice and empathetic chap you are against your victims. You're going to keep saying you don't create victims, right? You're going to keep arguing that we're going to kill you because we think you are the victim. And no, the argument is you're the perpetrator, asshole. Okay, we're going to save the victims you want to create. All right, it's you're the one saying I need the slaves. Well, we're going to end slavery, okay, and we're going to do it once. We're not going to have to, fight hundreds of years to get rid of it. We're not going to have hundreds of years of waiting for it. We're just going to nip it in the bud, so to speak, nip it in its creation process. If neither of us believes in an objective ought, well, see, that's your problem. So again, you don't think there's any objective anything. You don't think there's any should, and you're going to make arguments about what shouldn't be, which is absolutely preposterous. You can't articulate a reason for a should, and yet you're going to say, but that shouldn't be. You can't see. You're just so fucking illogical. There's no logical integrity in saying I can't figure out right, but I know what wrong is. It's illogical, idiot. That exist independent of subjective perspective, and we actually just profoundly disagree on values. What more reasoning remains to us in the red button scenario? Either you will implement your wonderful final solution, or someone else will be halted as an international intergalactic hero for preventing the mass murder you openly endorse here. And again, there's been lots of ticker tape parades for assholes. They gave Bill Cosby the Congressional Medal of Fun Freedom or something. I guess that might have been a mistake. So I'm just saying, you think you're a hero if you perpetuate enslavement to a DNA molecule. I think that makes you a complete idiot. They should build a monument to moron out of you. I understand and trust. I understand the trust of your position, the thrust of your position. Let's do away with all the unfair suffering by doing away with everybody and everyone. Yeah, let's stop the victims by stopping the victimizers. I just disagree with your position entirely. Well, so, beginning with your desire to eradicate the inevitable suffering of life. Right, because you're not interested in eradicating suffering because you're feeding on it, and you're selfish enough to think you're accomplishing something, which is a crock of shit. And what makes you even worse is you're too much of a wimp to have kids and to defend your gluttony. But you'll let somebody else do it for you. So you're just gross. I'll keep and endure my own suffering. You concern yourself with yours. No, I'm going to concern myself with the thing that created me, okay? I didn't ask to be here. I'm here. I reject the idea of more of me being created, so I'll put a stop to it, as is my right, because my consent has been violated. So I am bothering myself with my situation. I'm saying I was violated. I'm going to stop violators. Since you won't do it, I will. But of course you think my suffering is somehow your business. No, I don't give a fuck about your suffering because you're a perpetrator. Okay, so yeah, you're the last on the list to be bothered with. Victims come first. Perpetrators come last. Yours to abrate us on, yours to terminate as you see fit. Well, again, it's not as you see fit. It's a nice phrase, but yes, what's your counter argument? You have no counter argument saying there's nothing fit about this vision we have. So again, your argument is lame. You're just saying you don't like it. Well, too bad. I'm sorry you don't like it, but goddamn, all the facts point to it, shit for brain. And no facts point to your delusion that everything will be okay. As your little mass murder fantasy bears out. Well, your little let's all play Borg forever and ever and ever ain't going to go anywhere either, jackass. So I can just call that your little Borg fantasy of how everything's just worked out just fine. Well, that isn't proven by history. And it's certainly not proven by the unsustainability that we're all facing in terms of what seems quite obvious. There's lots of bad news coming to planet Earth soon. So I don't know why he's continuing a conversation again with a person who's not an Efilism. While I don't for a moment think a full red button is ever going to become a physical reality, for one thing, there are galaxies receding from ours faster than light, meaning that they probably are going to be unreachable by anything on Earth. Well, I don't think they're actually doing that. They're actually falling apart, and they were falling apart 15 billion years ago, and they're actually not even anything anymore. They're energy going that way. They're light going that way. I think Efilism are a potential concern. They could get frustrated and decide to go for a more limited final solution. Nobody took urine Krinko too seriously before 1995. Well, again, if you want to just compare everybody to the Unabomber, that's your choice. But I'm just saying I can do that with Christians. I could do that with every philosophical point of view. I could say they're extremists, that they're potentially, all Muslims are potentially Christian killers, or Jew killers, and all Jews are potential Muslim killers. So go ahead. Kill everybody because they're potentially killers. Yeah. I mean, at least don't be a hypocrite. So again, your hypocrisy showing. Apply the same standards to all the other fanatics in the world, asshole. The group to which I referred was a Japanese doomsday cult that went on to kill scores of people with sarin gas. Well, like realistically, do you think an Efilism is really going to be satisfied with killing a few people? I mean, that's a political statement anyway, right? So that, again, that's every political movement in the world might want to use terrorism to get in the newspapers. I'm telling you, quite frankly, I've never even thought of terrorism for that purpose, okay? It's just that's just lame and weak. So if I'm going to do it, yes, I'm going to do it all the way. I'll do it correctly. I won't do it incorrectly. But anyway, it doesn't matter. In which 13 commuters were killed and many hundreds affected. Yes, well, our war against Islam as retaliation for the 3,000 deaths of the 2,000 deaths of 9/11 totaled $2 trillion of wasted resources. So go add up how many people died in Africa that could have been saved with $2 trillion in the last 10 years. And you'll figure out how many people we killed. The United States of America killed. Idiot. Yeah, you really are a stupid fucker. Maybe you missed my edit, but I changed it quite early on. Oh, gee, intergalactic. Yes, Efilism could indeed be dangerous creatures in the way you described. That would be unfortunate, whatever that even means, but whatever. Everybody can be dangerous. So you want to pretend? Go ahead, pretend some more. Oh, look, he's playing the clip from the Anaconda VOD. Now, on the face of it, this self-modulated character is not as obviously demented and foaming at the mouth crazy as inmendham. Yeah, whatever. So he plays the clip where I say I'm going to eat Anaconda's face, but, you know, once again, there's absolutely no context to that, right? So here's his glib smiling face. The conversation is about basically the torture of animals and the torment of human beings in mental institutions and all that stuff, and this glib motherfucker just couldn't give a rat's ass. And so I was just expressing my contempt, and I think it's a perfectly reasonable contempt. Alright, takes YouTube videos in which he does not flail around with spittle flying out of his face, turning purple with rage. Well, again, how irrelevant is that? Oh, that's right. It's completely irrelevant. So something you don't understand, there's actually arguments being made, and you're not making any counter-argument in defense of the status quo. Your defense of the status quo is empty, vacant, glaring. The fact that you have no defense. Perhaps due to the humor in his videos, perhaps because he is preaching to a choir, his like-to-dislike ratio is high. Well, who cares? But take a moment to look at what he is actually proposing. Again, who cares? You know, I mean, this whole whether you like it or not, can you argue it or not? What's your counter argument? DNA molecule causes gladiator war, 500 million years of it, for the delusion of I'm winning, I'm almost there, What else are you living for, asshole? You think tomorrow's you're gonna do something cool, and the next day you're gonna think, oh yeah, the next day is gonna be really cool. Oh yeah, the next day for sure. That's all, you're just living on hope, shit. You're a hopeite, okay? For the sake of hopeiting, you're torturing a bunch of sentient organisms. So you can sit around and fucking, play with your tiny penis and say, I hope, I hope, I hope. Fucking douchebag. He is openly and quite seriously advocating for the forced extermination of all humans, oh my god, and the destruction of the entire biosphere, oh my god, because reality does not live up to his ideal. No, because reality doesn't live up to any ideal. It doesn't live up to the most scurvy of standards. It doesn't have like a single real meritorious quality. The whole fucking thing is a disgusting slimy bug of a universe without suffering. And again, you're the one saying it's okay, I will torture things for my existence. So you're saying a universe where I can torture things at will. Yeah, I don't want there to be a universe where you can torture things at will for silly purposes. I'm saying go ahead and defend your purpose, defend that you're worth it, and then you have an argument. But until you defend how you're worth it, how you're worth torturing one fucking cat, one fucking dog, one fucking pig, one fucking squirrel. Show me what you've done with your fucking miserable, scurvy little fucking douchebag girly man life that demonstrates that somehow you've done something that's worth their torture. Fucker, show it to me. Show me your worth.
He says, quite openly,
the fact that very few of us consent to being exterminated. Again, I didn't consent to being perpetrated into this existence, to being perpetuated into it, and I will not sit there and be stupid and say I'm going to do nothing to stop it. You're violating consent, all right? That's a crime, all right? You're not entitled to rights. You're a consent violator. I'm retracting your right to not get consent. All that matters to him is his ideal. No, all that matters to me, well, you're saying it's an ideal. I'm saying my ideal is not to be persecuted by idiots. That's hardly an ideal. He says quite openly that he would like to kill us all whether we like it or not. I don't know when I said that, but whatever. I certainly would like to kill you. Okay, I mean individuals of your mindset, like I'm entitled to rape and pillage. I'm worth it. I will torture millions, and in my life perhaps billions of sentient creatures so I can watch American Idol. Yes, a douchebag, that big a douchebag, should have the air let out of him, whether we like it or not. Such is the strength of his own aversion to the mere thought of suffering. Well, again, the fact that you're not averse to the thought of suffering, the fact that you apparently can contemplate it happening to other things without it at all distracting you, but I'm quite sure you find it quite distracting when it's imposed on you. Yeah, you're afraid. You're so weak and dependent that there's probably you couldn't withstand one tiny fraction of what you're imposing if you really had to endure it. Do you think that these rather sad characters on YouTube are up to the job of engineering global apocalypse? Do I think you're up to the job of creating life and managing its existence? No, you're quite obviously not up to the job, and you've quite obviously advocated any responsibility for anything, and are just saying the DNA molecule did it. I don't have anything to do with it. I don't have to take responsibility for the suffering in nature because I didn't cause it. Yeah, well, you didn't start the fire, but you're feeding it just as fine, so you're responsible for it. Once you feed it, you're responsible for it. That's sort of the rule. And yet this Efilis does make the admission that Efilis are a potential danger to us all. I don't even know what that means. Since I'm saying all humans are dangerous to all humans, so it's just silly to use this kind of nonsense as an argument, since they might be frustrated enough to satisfy themselves with creating lesser destruction. Well, again, I clearly have stated I wouldn't be satisfied with any such scenario. But, I mean, if I found out tomorrow that you had cancer, I wouldn't be upset. I'd say, yeah, the universe is working now for a moment. It has a little shining bit of brilliance, and it's torturing the assholes who deserve to be tortured. The glib motherfuckers who aren't bothered by it happening to others. So, yeah, if it has to happen to somebody, good. I mean, if the statistics have to be, if they have to be inevitably resolved, and they will happen, it couldn't happen to a bigger asshole. I suggest that those opposed to the morbid anti-life ideology they stand for not mention the tactics they routinely stoop to. Might want to keep an eye on Efilism developments. Yeah, okay, you can fear-monger all you want. Go ahead. I mean, if it comes to that. So you're just basically saying there's ideas out there that are too dangerous. So, okay, go ahead and say that. Go ahead without evidence, pretend that we're somehow more dangerous than Islam, or more dangerous than Judaism, or more dangerous than Christians. I don't think that you can prove that or demonstrate that with a rational argument. So, yeah, I think that's the definition of propaganda, asshole. Yeah, so bravo. Oh, fat drunk.
These heroic mass murderers, that they all thought that they could bring about an ultimate history. They all thought that with them, history would be consummated.
Well, it kind of was, right? So the argument can be made that the world probably was better off without, certain kinds of people who were destroyed in wars, okay? So certain civilizations were rather nasty and lousy and crappy, and it's probably good that they got annihilated. The future was probably a better place because of it. It's a factual truth.
History would in fact come to an end. They were messianic.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, the Egyptian pharaohs, it's kind of good they got wiped out because they were idiots. Wasters of suffering and such.
Or on earth, for that way lies madness and torture and murder.
Yeah, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Speechifying. So, again, propaganda. Whatever. I don't need to see. This is, obviously, he's talking about atheism, so it's not a relevant argument at all. At all. So, anyway, maybe comments. I don't know. I really am out of time. Well, some of this stuff is funny. I mean, there's Roth. I don't know. Once people start saying something wrong, then it just keeps getting wrong. Rorschach. Yeah. I'm still saying it wrong. Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny that you hear something wrong and then you just keep this. I guess I have to give it. I guess it's not Anacondavide's fault that it can't say inmendham. But anyway. So this is just so stupid. Logic rolls the dice. So no, Logic rolls the dice who just wants to play killer, right? He doesn't have a serious philosophy, but he likes the idea of being the destroyer or something. And it's just kind of silly. Why is it absolutist? And what if what most people imagine to be danger is under question by Efilism? One cannot simply presuppose that any anti-life ideology is just bad by default because it violates our freedom, autonomy, or because the Efilists have confidence in their position. And well, the real point is there an argument defending life? Is life above reproach? Is life so super brilliant an idea that nobody could find fault with it? And it isn't if you don't believe in God, okay? If you don't believe in a God, then you have to believe in evolution. And if you believe in evolution, you're not going to find anything intelligent in that design system. So now you're in big fucking trouble in terms of defending what life is, which is a fucking preposterous waste of fucking suffering. Anti-life ideology built entirely on contradictions and exo-faxo whatever, cubics of mixed with appeals to guilt and metaphysical whatever it isn't. I don't know, ism. Yeah, way to go, Carla. Use some big words. I mean, seriously, as soon as someone says, I'm glad to be born, inmendham has no other reply than to immediately retort that completely delusional, insane guilt-tripping. Well, no, I mean, like, geez. Oh, you might be glad, but 1 trillion sentient beings died so you can exist. Children get cancer in order so you to be happy, etc., etc. And if one of them exposes that guilt-tripping as a lie, well, again, how is it a lie? It's the fucking fact of reality. So again, you're just calling it guilt tripping. Again, this whole idea of guilt tripping. Guilt can't work if you don't believe what the person is saying is true. Guilt can't possibly work unless you think what the person is saying is true. Guilt can't possibly work. You can't trip over guilt if you don't believe what the person who's trying to impose guilt on you is saying is not true. You can only impose guilt on yourself, idiot. These are just so simple, these arguments. Skizer, oh man, super moron. Alright, 2 logic rolls of dice. It's only in death that we are truly free, limitless, boundless, and empty. And also very dead. Well, that's brilliant. And being dead does not equate to free. Free from what exactly? Existence? No thanks. Yeah, well, get what you deserve, asshole. You already have. I mean, you're like the super loser of all the Englands. You know, everybody must, Skizer must be slang for fucking plank, right, by now? You know, the people don't even call each other planks anymore. They just call each other Skizers. You fucking Skizer. Ugh. Alright, he brings on about emotions, yet uses them to justify the fucking warped view of reality. Yeah, like this video was just pure logic all the way down, huh, asshole? Oh, fuck. Alright, to Carla. Well, I'm not gonna read that. It already has fucking words I don't even want to deal with. Efilism itself is one huge appeal to emotion. I mean, really. Efilism itself is one huge appeal to emotion. So that's this asshole made this video. That's his argument. That it's an emotional appeal. This argument about a DNA molecule, evolution, and the acknowledgement of the harsh brutality of the numbers alone. 10,000 dead octopi babies for one to reach adulthood. 10,001. Sea turtles, same number. 10,000 for one. One has sex. 10,000 die for it. That makes sense to you. That's logical. That's sufficiently efficient. You're a real idiot. And it's an appeal to emotion to acknowledge suffering is bad. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Catch-22 much? Let's see what this is. And as, well, let me see what logic roll the dice said to the appeal to. It's not, and if it is, then so is Nietzsche's will to power. Well, I mean, comparing it to Nietzsche as a defense is really, that's really bad reasoning. And as a lover of Hume, you would have said as much that something like the love or hate of life is a matter of passions, not reason. Yes, but so what? Say again, there we go again. You know, sorry, that's a serious issue. If you're just acting out of emotional garbage, programming, conditioning, subjective taste, then you don't have any argument. You don't have any right to impose anything you see through that subjective bigotry as truth. I mean, that's just crap. So you either make a logical defense of what you're doing, or you don't bother doing it. I mean, really, it's just so lame to say you have some right to impose your emotional disposition on the universe. That's just idiotic. Let's see. Of course it is an appeal to emotion, if not emotionally invested in caring about your suffering as much as you would like. How are you going to reason me into caring? Again, I don't care about you caring. It's a matter of respecting a truth. You know, if you want to tell me that you don't care about your feelings and you don't take Novocaine when you go to the dentist, if you want to swear that you don't use Novocaine, you want to swear that you've had surgery without anesthetic, then you can make an argument about how it's inappropriate for somebody to be worried about these circumstances where individuals will feel these negative sensations. But until then, you're just a fucking screaming hypocrite. You're saying that somehow it matters when it's happening to you, and it doesn't matter when it's happening to them. You're just so full of fucking goddamn shit. Alright, well, there's no point in remaking the same arguments I've already made in videos, but we'll move on. Cut this one short, spare you. I don't know, this text section does look like you could mine an awful lot of gold in here. Awful lot of gold. Alright, so maybe I'll do that someday when I have more time. So, till the next time.